My name's Paul, welcome to Paul Perambulates. In this episode, I'm in North Wales, at the eastern end of Eryri, Snowdonia, climbing Moel Siabod. My start point is the Bryn car park, on the A5, postcode LL240DT, grid reference SH73615710. What 3 words? Cargo, remaking, outsmart. I cross the Quarry and head southwest up a shallow but very long path through a disused slate quarry up the eastern side of the mountain. Passing Llyn Fall, I turn west and scramble parallel to the Eryri ridge to the top. I spend a good while taking in the fabulous views of almost all the highest peaks in Eryri. I then head down the western side of the mountain with great views of the Llyn to the west and Capel Curry to the north. Towards the bottom, I drop into the pleasant shade of the Coed Bryn Engan woods. Passing the Plazy Brenin National Outdoor Centre, I turn eastward and follow the Quarry, then cross it to join the A5 and head back to the car park. Total distance 11.4 kilometres. Total height gain 797 metres. Total walking time 4 hours and 26 minutes. This is the Bryn car park off the A5 just before Pont Cyfan. About 30 spaces, free, no gates. Straight out of the car park, you get the Cyfan Falls. Right alongside the noisy A5, but making a much nicer noise. And there is Pont Cyfan. As so often here in Eryri, nicely signposted. Heading up initially on a metalled road in woodland. A little bit steep, but nice easy walking. Just come up over a ridge on the way up and already starting to get some nice views. Just coming up above the tree line now onto a rocky gravelly vehicle track pointing straight up at the top of Moel Siabod. I've got myself the most beautiful Snowdonia day for this. Not a cloud in the sky. It's a weekday in term time, mid-June. And I've got this mountain to myself at the moment. This path shallows out as you go up it, which is rather nice. Keeps on heading straight for Moel Siabod. And we are getting close now. Coming over the top of a little rise now. And we got the first of a number of bodies of water that we're going to see today. I know it gets a bit arctic up here in the winter, but I didn't think it got Antarctic. If I see any penguins, I'll make sure I shoot some video of them. This isn't named on the Ordnance Survey map. Looking at the human built wall, at the bottom end of it is clearly a reservoir, almost certainly for slate mining, of which there has been a lot around here. It's a useful navigation aid as well, as the path wraps right around it. And now I think I can see where we're going next. Up there. Here is an interesting hill walking curio. You might come along here and think, what sort of idiot would bring a massive red bucket like that and then just leave it here littering? In fact, it's a container for sheep food. It would have been left here by the farmer. It's empty now, so the farmer will tidy it up again. So if you see one, don't try and tidy it up. Path's getting rougher as we go up now. Quite large stones, need to be careful with your feet. I read about extensive slate mining taking place higher up here, and I think I'm coming to the remains of it now. There's a massive pile here covered in slate spoil, and I can see a ruined building. Coming up past that spoil heap, there are a couple of ruined buildings up here and more higher up. This must have been quite an extensive quarrying operation. This bit of the path now is completely slate spoil, huge great slabs of it laying around everywhere. Another level up, lots more ruined buildings, constructed unsurprisingly of slate, and slate spoil everywhere. This stark and sudden interruption to the landscape simply can't be natural. This must be where all the slate was quarried from. Now a very desirable wild swimming spot, and I know for a fact that at least one of my wild swimming friends has been in here. It is a fabulous sight, especially with the waterfall. More ruined walls and buildings up here. I read that this quarry ultimately was unprofitable. Must have been a massive decision to abandon it, given the amount of effort that's clearly gone into creating and running it. You wonder whether the slate wasn't of good enough quality. I mean, they've left enough of it here, or perhaps the location was just too remote to get it profitably to where it could be used. Here's another look from right up by the top of the far cliff. It really is a very dramatic feature of the scenery. From here, look on down the valley and see a lot of the ruins I've just come up past. Fascinating diversion into quarrying there, but now onwards and upwards. Path doubles as a stream up here, perfectly passable today. I wonder whether it gets a bit torrential in winter and whether you might have to skirt around it. Coming up to the top of the bwlch now. Got my first view of the route up to the top. The Eryri Ridge. This is Llyn y Fowel, and it's at the bottom of the ridge. Looks a little bit intimidating from this side. Falls away very, very steeply. But according to the map, nowhere near as steeply on the other side. Path goes along the north side of the lake to the foot of the ridge. I've read it can get a bit boggy and that you're better to go around the southern side of the lake. But it's very dry at the moment underfoot, so I'm going to chance it around the north side. That bit in the middle was indeed a bit boggy, but I've managed to pick my way around it. My feet are still dry. It is June after a very long dry spell, so perhaps wouldn't try it in the winter. I'm at the bottom of the ridge now, looking up. Just seen a couple of guys go up, so I'm hoping that they know it, and I'm going to go up the same way they went and see where it takes me. Be a lot of hands on here, so there might not be a lot of footage of it. So this is what it looks like. I've just started scrambling up, and there are signs of a path. It is a very popular route, so that's not surprising. But it's not too bad. It's going to be hard work, a lot of arm work as well as leg work. It's going to take a while, but it should be okay, I think. I think the really crucial thing is starting at the right point. If I sat and had a coffee and waited, and a couple of guys came along who looked like they knew what they were doing, and they went straight up the way I've now come, and it looks pretty good, so I'm going to go with that. Certainly for the first part, there is a definite path. You have to keep your wits about you to make sure you stay with it. It goes along well under the crest of the ridge. Hard work, but doable. Gaining some height now. Get some great views south and east. Allowing myself to think I might have cracked one of the hard parts. Now, not allowing myself to think there won't be any more there. And just as I say that, I emerge out onto the top of the ridge line to discover this fence which runs up to the summit. I've pretty much cracked it. Couple of reflections on that scramble now that I've freshly completed it. Was it as scary as I thought it would be? No, it wasn't. It wasn't scary at all. It was quite hard though, and when you're 63, it's not that simple to pull yourself up by your arms and legs for a couple of hours. My biggest worry was whether I'd physically make it, not whether I was too scared to make it. So I think maybe scrambling's a young person's game. So this is what the very top of the ridge looks like. Last bit of the path. Walking bit, this one. And here we go. We've made it. Coordinate Moel Siabod, 872 metres. This is interesting. The trig point itself, absolutely swarming with midges. And yet there are people sitting picnicking about 20 metres away, perfectly happily. They're just concentrated here. I have no idea why. Could be something to do with the weather, who knows. Anyway, I don't want to spend too long here. It is very unpleasant. It is apparently possible to see 13 of Eryri's 14 highest peaks from this spot. Let's see what I can name. Never going to miss that one. Eryri on the left there, Garnet again on the right, and in the middle, of course, Eryri, Snowdon. Coming round. Glidafar, Glidafach, Trivan, Penir Olwen, Garnet David, Garnet Llewellyn. That's the best I can do. Looking down at southern Snowdonia now. Cadair Idris and Aaron Fowtui will be there somewhere, I'm not sure which they are, but it all looks amazing in the haze. Zooming right into Trivan, we see the infamous Adam and Eve stones on the summit, and down off the summit to the right, the Cannon stone. The king of the Carneddau, Garnet Llewellyn, Eryri's second or third highest, depending on which classification you go with. We're looking right up into the Snowdon Horseshoe here. Eryri, the route up on the left, the infamous Crib Goch and Garnet Ugain on the right. We can just pick out the usual crowds on the top. And just because I can from here, the whole suite again. There is an extremely substantial stone shelter up here. They're usually good in Eryri. This one, possibly the best I've seen. This is the result of an awful lot of hard work by people who really knew what they were doing. I remember in my Ben Nevis episode seeing a shelter on the way down and saying I'm not sure if I'd ever seen one with a better view. Well, I think it's got a rival, if I'm honest with you. Looking now across the rest of North Wales, possibly as far as England, hard to tell. In the foreground, that ridge there is my way down off this mountain, and in the background again, the Irish Sea, wind farms and the North Wales coast. As ever on a summit in Eryri, you get these jagged, pointy rocks, prehistoric looking things, very much a feature of the area. Beautiful as the views are up here, at some point it has to end, so now I'm heading off down. The scenery that way is not too bad either. Here's a little nav tip for you. I made to carry down along the ridge of Moel Siabod, but the actual path down drops away to the left, i.e. to the northwest, quite a while before you get there, so I've now had to scramble across some boulder fields to get down onto the path. I could of course have carried on along the ridge, then I would have had a much steeper descent at the other end, but I'm on that path now. And you can see it in front of me, descending nicely, diagonally, down the side of the hill. Looking down on Llynau Minbyr, at the near end, I'll be amazed if water sports aren't offered at that centre. At the far end, Capel Curig, or at least as much of it as the hill allows us to see. This path, which isn't on the OS map, incidentally, gets pretty rugged actually on the way down. It would be a not inconsiderable climb. I've got the poles out to lower myself down it. It's a walk, but a rough one. Further down again, and the path continues to be a bit challenging. Big irregular rocks sunk into boggy ground here. Poles still required. Dropping down into the trees now, mainly conifers here. This is Eryri Brennan, and the path is getting shallower and shallower, which is a bit of a relief. I'm hoping soon for some shade, because now back down at a lower altitude it's quite hot. I've got my shade, and boy is it lovely. Heading down this path now through the forest. Should come out where the river flows out the northeastern end of Llynau Minbyr, and then I'll be able to head along by the river. I'm at the bottom of the path now. I've met where the river comes out of the lake. Beautiful footbridge there, which would get me over to the A5. I'm going to stay this side on the footpath. What is of interest here is I'm looking at the back of Plazy Brennan, the National Outdoor Centre. And this is a government funded thing, run on behalf of Sport England, even though it's in Wales. They don't just do courses for outdoor participants here. They do courses for outdoor instructors. They basically police the standards that keep everyone safe in the hills or on whatever other outdoor pursuit they're taking part in. Very important place. Walking eastward now through the forest on the last leg of today's walk, and this is most certainly bike territory. Nice hard compact track that you can race along on your bike, so I'm keeping my eyes and ears peeled, make sure I don't get run over. Arriving now at the footbridge. That'll take me back over to the A5. Horrible noisy road, but at least on the way there I've got the beautiful sound of the river. Back alongside the Cwfing Falls now. Unfortunately the A5, the other side, is a bit noisy, but that's still a beautiful sound. And heading back to the car park. Moel Siabod in the background there. What an excellent walk I've had today. Loads of interesting stuff, from the abandoned slate quarry to the scramble to the unbelievable views at the top. Difficulty wise, I'm giving that an 8. I think the scramble accounts for that, but also the walk down wasn't exactly easy, long and rugged. The slate quarry was so interesting, and I'm going to look into that. The views from the top were absolutely to die for, especially on a day like today when you can see absolutely everything. On the subject of the scramble, I'm sure it's all exciting stuff when you're young, and when you're 63 it's just hard work. I think I'm going to leave that for you youngsters in future. That's not to say don't do it. It has the reputation of being the starter scramble, the one you do when you're working out if you like scrambling or not. Well, I've come to the conclusion, no. Don't let that put you off if you've got more energy than me. Whichever way you do it, it's a pretty amazing mountain, although let's face it, I had a pretty amazing day for it. But why not give it a try? All maps and 3D fly-throughs provided by kind permission of Ordnance Survey through their excellent OS Online application. Big thanks also for all music used in this video to mixkit.co and upbeat.io. Specific song and artist credits can be found in the comments. These videos are designed to show you around the routes I walk in case you're considering doing them yourself. They are not designed to be any kind of hill walking training or guidance. If you need hill walking skills, obtain them in person from a reputable, qualified provider. Please don't attempt these walks without appropriate levels of fitness and equipment. If you don't have the required levels of knowledge and experience, only undertake them accompanied by somebody who does. You can find out more about me and my background and experience at my website, paulperambulates.co.uk. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Paul Perambulates. If you did, please subscribe and share.